Discover 5 hidden keys to letting go, unexpected heartwarming transformations revealed. In the quaint town of Maplewood, where every sunrise was a fresh canvas and every neighbor knew your name, Mia Thompson spent her days hustling at the local diner, serving up plates of home-cooked comfort and smiles. But beneath the small-town charm, her own heart ached with the weight of her estranged relationship with her father, Jim. Years of arguments had turned their once-close bond into a battle of silence and resentment, and each passing day stretched the emotional distance between them. Mia's fingers clutched the edges of a diner table as she took a moment to breathe. The scent of coffee mingled with the sound of laughter, but she felt like a ghost among the warm memories of what used to be. The thought of her father brought 1,000 emotions to the surface. He was a retired veteran, burdened with regrets, and she wished she could understand him, but their conversations often felt like stepping into a minefield. Then one day, while rummaging through the attic of her childhood home, she stumbled upon an old box. The moment she opened it, a wave of nostalgia washed over her. Inside, yellowed letters, filled with ink smudges and raw emotions, unfolded the untold story of her father's service, words of vulnerability she never knew existed. Each letter pulled her deeper into the heart of a man she had once called Dad, revealing secrets of bravery, heartbreak, and a love that had become buried under years of silence. As she read his words, Mia's heart opened like flowers under spring's first sun. She began to see the cracks in their relationship were more than just misunderstandings, they were scars left by unshared burdens. Hope flickered in her chest, igniting a desire to reconnect with the father she thought she had lost forever. She could finally see the man behind the armor, and for the first time in years, she felt a glimmer of understanding. But just as her heart started to soar, panic rippled through Maplewood. The local factory, the town's lifeblood, announced its closure, threatening the livelihoods of everyone Mia knew. A storm of worry swept through the community, pushing neighbors closer together, each person leaning on the other as they faced the looming crisis. Mia found herself thrust into a leadership role, her spirit becoming the nervous heartbeat of the community as they rallied together to fight for their futures. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the festival approached, the stakes rose. Mia stood at a crossroads with her father, their fragile reconciliation tangled in the chaos of their community's despair. Old wounds opened, and the memories they each carried clashed painfully. The factory's fate hung heavy over their heads, interweaving their struggles with the fate of Maplewood. Then news came of a plan to transform the factory space into a community center. A surge of hope washed over Mia. Here was a chance to rebuild, to revitalize the town, to forge a new beginning. But her father's old fears reared their heads once more, threatening to drown them both in a sea of doubt. As festival lights flickered to life, Mia's heart raced. Could they heal the rifts between them amidst the growing crisis? Could they learn to let go of their past mistakes and embrace the uncertainty of tomorrow? Only time would tell as they stood on the brink. Each breath felt charged with possibility. Their future lay waiting, just out of reach. Mia stood at the edge of the festival grounds, watching as the townspeople began to gather. Laughter and music filled the air, but there was a heaviness in her chest. The shimmering lights danced like fireflies, reminding her of childhood, of joy, and of that deep-seated hope to reconnect with her father. Yet, separate from the festival, a feeling of dread churned in her stomach. Jim had arrived early to set up his booth, a last-minute entry considering the upheaval surrounding the factory closure. She caught a glimpse of him through the crowd, his hands methodically arranging items, his brow creased in concentration. For years, Mia had perceived that furrow as irritation, an indelible mark of the man she thought she knew. But now it felt like a reflection of the struggles that hid beneath the surface. "Hey, Mia!" called out Jessica, her close friend and fellow diner waitress. She looped her arm through Mia's, pulling her back to the present. You okay? Just a little nervous, Mia confessed, forcing a smile. This festival means so much to everyone and to my dad. As they moved toward the center of the festivities, a familiar voice broke through the din. Mia. Jim was waving, his expression tentative. That small gesture stirred something deep within her. For years, she had longed for a moment just like this, yet the simplicity of it felt monumental. She took a deep breath and approached him. Dad, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. It felt strange to see him showing some vulnerability, almost as if he too was stepping into the unknown. Hey, kiddo. He gestured to a handcrafted sign he had written just for the festival. Thought it might be good to draw some attention. Maplewood Community Heroes. It's about the people who keep fighting. The pride swelled in Mia's chest. This is wonderful. But shadows loomed just beyond the joy. They needed more than art booths and clever signs, they needed hope ignited by action. Dad, I think we should work together to share our story, our journey, she suggested, her heart pounding. Like how? He asked, looking skeptical. I'm not good at talking about feelings, Mia. It's not just feelings. It's our legacy, our community. People need to know they're not alone, she urged, her passion coming through. As she spoke, she noticed the barriers he had built around himself begin to crack. His gaze softened and the lines on his face eased just a bit. You really think it could make a difference? I do, she replied, the energy growing between them. In that moment, something shifted. It was subtle but strong, a shared realization that perhaps healing their bond was just as crucial as saving their town. They both had stories wrapped in layers of pain, regret, and love waiting to be unveiled. The festival swirled around them, a world of color and sound, yet they stood together on their own precipice. Jim's hand brushed Mia's as he hesitated, and then he nodded, a small but significant gesture he was willing to try. But just then, a loud commotion caught their attention. A group of kids had gathered near the factory booth, their faces scrunched in confusion as something fell from the awning. Chaos erupted as adults rushed to see what had caused the stir. Stay here. Jim called to Mia, instinct kicking in as he moved toward the crowd. Her heart raced as she followed, a chill running down her spine. In the midst of the growing panic, fear gripped her heart. Would this be another day of silence or an opportunity for words to mend what had been broken? As Mia fought her way through the throng, her mind whirled. Everything felt interconnected: the factory's closure, the rising tension, her father's past, and she knew in that moment, they were teetering on the edge of something life-altering. Would this bring them closer together or deeper into the silence they had fought so hard to escape? As she reached the front, the answer loomed just beyond her grasp. Mia finally squeezed her way to the front of the crowd, her breath hitching in her throat. The scene unfolding felt surreal, a mix of fear and curiosity seeping into the vibrant atmosphere of the festival. The kids stood wide-eyed, pointing at a wrinkled sheet of paper fluttering in the breeze. What is that? She muttered to herself, trying to get a clear view. As she strained her eyes, the paper began to unfold, revealing a banner with bold, red letters that read, "Save our factory." The air buzzed with astonishment, whispers ricocheting through the gathered group. Is this a joke? Someone exclaimed, while another shared a nervous laugh. But Mia's heart sank. This wasn't a joke, it was a cry for help, a stark reminder of the looming crisis overshadowing the festival. She scanned the crowd for her father. He stood at the front, his posture rigid, hands clenched into fists. His expression had transformed from eager anticipation to something resembling fear. For a moment, the festival's laughter faded, replaced by the weight of reality creeping into the joyful facade they had all tried to uphold. "Dad," Mia whispered, stepping closer. But he seemed distant, locked in a battle with something deep inside himself. It was a fight she had seen before, his struggle to hold on to the remnants of hope while confronting the disappointments of the past. The murmurs around them swelled, rising like the tide. "What are we going to do?" Jessica fretted beside Mia. This could ruin the festival. Booming voices broke through the tension. We can't just let it go. We need to rally. A man from the factory workers shouted, his eyes lighting up with a mix of anger and determination. The crowd began to buzz with a newfound energy. The emotion in Mia's chest swelled. This was the moment she feared and hoped for, all wrapped in one. Look at them, she said to Jessica. They're afraid, and they need to feel heard. Just like us, just like my dad. At that moment, she realized her father was still there underneath the layers of hurt and frustration. We can guide them, she breathed, igniting a fire within herself. We can show them they're not alone in this fight. Mia glanced at Jim, anticipating his reaction. His jaw clenched, and she felt the weight of his hesitation pressing down on them both. But in the growing chaos, amid whispered plans and rallying cries, she saw a flicker of recognition in his eyes, a spark of the man she had admired growing up. Dad, it's time to speak. She urged, taking his hand and squeezing it tightly. Just like you said, we are all heroes here. He hesitated, uncertainty clouding his face as he looked back at the crowd. But her words sunk in. Slowly, he stepped forward, their hands still intertwined, the warmth between them igniting courage within his heart. The townspeople turned to them, eager for leadership. Everyone, Jim's voice cracked but held conviction, this factory is more than brick and mortar. It's about us, our families, our stories. We have to fight for what makes us whole. Mia felt his strength pour into her, realization washing over her as the crowd responded with enthusiastic cheers, a pulse of hope thumping in unison. She smiled through her tears, they were stepping out of the shadows together, voices climbing out of the silence that had long suffocated them. As the crowd united, exchanging ideas and plans to fight back, Mia couldn't help but think of her father's handcrafted sign, the legacy of community heroes. In this moment, they weren't just standing on the edge, they were taking a leap into a new chapter, together. But just as Mia began to believe in this newfound strength, a familiar voice cut through the excitement. And what if we fail? It was a soft but powerful voice from behind, questioning everything as it hung in the air like a dark cloud. Mia turned, realizing that this was a voice of doubt they couldn't ignore in the swell of energy and hope. Could they truly face the challenge ahead? Would fear have the last word? Mia's heart pounded in her chest. The voice behind her was unmistakable Grace, her former best friend, a girl who had seemed to fade away with the passing of time. With every bit of strength, Mia fought the urge to turn back. Instead, she stood firm, gripping her father's hand tighter. Grace, not now, she called over her shoulder. We need to focus on what we can do. But Grace stepped forward, her face twisted in concern. You think rallying together will change anything? This town has been through too much already. We've seen how our voices have gone unheard. The crowd began to murmur, the energy stalling like a car engine struggling to start. Mia felt like someone had thrown a bucket of cold water over her head. How could Grace, who used to dream of running the world with her, so easily douse their hopes? Look, Mia said, trying to keep her voice steady. We can't let doubt steer us off course. Yes, we might fail, but isn't it better to try? To stand up for the things we believe in? Grace's brow furrowed, and for a moment, Mia caught the hint of longing in her eyes. And what if you stand up and nothing changes? What if it just gets worse? Then at least we would have fought, Jim chimed in, his voice rising to meet the crowd again. It's about more than the factory. It's about our community, our families, about us standing together. Mia could see the slight shift in Grace's expression. She took a step closer as if pulled by some invisible force. But what if all this effort leads to disappointment? What if the factory closes anyway? Then we find a way to keep moving forward, Jim said, a fire now igniting in his voice. But we cannot stay silent. We owe it to everyone around us to speak out. Around them, folks began to nod, some whispering encouragement to one another. Mia felt a hopeful sensation swell up from her core. Their fight was not just for themselves, it was for all those who felt powerless. Like the hands that crafted the goods at the factory. Mia turned to Grace, locking eyes. You loved this town once, remember? We all did. We need to rally. The whole town deserves a chance. We can't allow fear to control us anymore. Let us give it everything we've got. In her heart, Mia felt a small light flicker. Could she bring Grace back into the fold? Could they find common ground in this time of uncertainty? But even as the cheers around them grew louder, Grace's gaze lingered on Mia with uncertainty. What if it's too late? She whispered, her voice laced with sorrow. Suddenly, Mia felt the weight of her own fears creeping back. Was it too late? The thought was chilling, but she refused to let it overwhelm her. Instead, she squared her shoulders and stepped forward. It's never too late to try, Mia said, her voice strong. Every voice matters. Every single one of us makes a difference. The crowd began to stir again, finding their rhythm. Mia felt her heart beat faster, joining the tempo of their growing determination. As if on cue, the festival's twinkling lights above them flickered brightly against the twilight sky, reminding her of the magic that still existed. But just as Mia was about to lead the crowd in a cheer, she noticed an unfamiliar figure lurking at the edge of the festival. A man, woven in shadows, was watching closely. His expression was unreadable. Mia's instincts kicked in. Who was he? What did his presence mean for their fight? As if sensing her apprehension, Grace nudged closer. What if he is here to stop us? With hearts thudding in sync, Mia and Grace, two once inseparable friends now steered by doubt and hope, were at a crossroads. What choice would they make facing this new challenge? Mia tried to shake off the unsettling feeling knotting her stomach. The figure watching them seemed out of place, like a shadow in an otherwise vibrant scene filled with laughter and hope. She exchanged a quick glance with Grace, who seemed just as wary. The energy of the crowd pulsed around them, but Mia's focus was now torn, her heart racing not just from adrenaline but from a deep-seated fear. Let us not let him deter us, Mia whispered fiercely, more to herself than to Grace. We need to keep this momentum going. Let us show him what we're made of. She took a deep breath and began to move toward the crowd, but a whisper of doubt lingered in her mind. What if that stranger was connected to the factory? What if he was there to silence them? Wait, Grace said, pulling Mia back slightly. We have to know what he wants first. But we can't just stand here, Mia urged, her voice rising above the hum of the crowd. We need to rally them. We can't let fear win. Just then, Jim caught her eye again, a pile of homemade signs clutched in his hands, their slogans indicative of the passion the community felt. Mia. Grace. Come on. We need you both. He waved her over, his enthusiasm infectious. With a glance at the mysterious figure still watching, Mia felt a spark of defiance rise in her chest. Let us show him we're united, she said, determination glinting in her eyes. Together, she and Grace stepped forward. As they joined the others, the crowd began to chant, their voices rising like an anthem. Save our town. Save our voices. Mia felt the surge of energy flow through her, each chant lifting her spirits higher. Grace stood beside her, her face flushed with emotion. For the first time in what felt like forever, they were standing together, side by side, even in the face of doubt. I knew you still had it in you, Mia said, her voice barely above the roar. Grace smiled, a small but genuine smile. I didn't want to believe it could matter. Every voice matters, Mia reminded her, echoing her earlier words. But just as the crowd reached a crescendo, the stranger stepped closer, his movements deliberate. The light caught his face, revealing sharp features and an intense look that sent a shiver down Mia's spine. Listen up. He called out, his voice cutting through the clamor. The crowd fell silent, tension hanging in the air like a heavy fog. Mia's heart raced again. What was he about to say? Would he support them or try to shut them down? Yet, before the man could speak again, Jim bravely stepped forward, his expression steady. "You have no place here if you're not here to help," he said fiercely. "Wait!" the stranger shouted, raising an arm. "I'm not here to stop you." Mia held her breath. What on earth could this man possibly say that would shift the tide? Moments ticked away, the crowd leaning in, uncertainty blooming like wildflowers in a desert. "Maybe he has the answers we've been looking for," Grace whispered, her voice trembling slightly. "Or maybe he carries news that could break their spirit completely," Mia thought. As the gaze of the crowd wavered between fear and hope, Mia knew the outcome of this confrontation could change everything. Would they find the support they desperately needed, or would their dreams shatter like glass underfoot? Mia's heartbeat echoed in the silence. The moment hung in the air, fraught with possibility. But which way would it tip? The stranger took a deep breath, his sharp eyes scanning the crowd. He seemed to weigh his words carefully, the thousands of hearts beating as one in that moment, suspended in anticipation. "I'm not here to shut you down," he repeated, quieter this time, his voice softened. "I'm Nathan, and I'm a journalist. I've come to listen." Mia felt a flicker of hope stir inside her, but she quickly stifled it, reminded of the uncertainty that hung over them. The crowd seemed just as conflicted. Some murmured to each other, eyes narrowed, while others leaned in, intrigued. "Listen," Jim challenged, crossing his arms. "What do you know about us? About our struggle?" Nathan stepped forward, his face earnest. "I know your town is in trouble. I know that the factory has been polluting the air for years, and that it's affecting the health of everyone here. I want to tell your story." His words sparked something new within Mia, a blend of disbelief and a cautious glimmer of excitement. "You want to help us?" she asked, needing reassurance. "Yes." Nathan insisted, his intensity palpable. "I want to expose what is happening. And maybe together, we can make a difference." Beside her, Grace's brow furrowed. "And why should we trust you? You're just some guy showing up out of nowhere." Mia chimed in, "We can't afford to be reckless, Grace. But this could be our chance. If he has the platform, he could bring the attention we need." For a moment, Nathan looked defeated, just a man in front of a fierce, united crowd that was rightly suspicious. "I get it," he said. "But I'm not the enemy here. I'm just trying to gather the truth." A tall man at the edge of the crowd stepped forward, his face lined with years of hard work and anxiety. "What kind of truth?" "The truth only the powerful get to share." "Will it even matter?" Mia's heart sank. "No," she shouted, surprising herself. "This is our story, and it does matter. If people don't know what is going on, how can they help us?" Nathan nodded. "Exactly. I won't sugarcoat anything, but I'll listen the good, the bad, everything. And I'll fight for your voices to be heard." The crowd shifted, energy pulsing like a heartbeat. Hope mingled with skepticism, a delicate balance. Mia felt the tension crackling in the air. "What do you need from us?" she asked, her voice firm. "Your truth, your experiences," Nathan replied, sincerity written across his face. "Join me in this. Let me document your stories, and together we'll shine a light on the darkness that has been hiding here." Grace still hesitated, searching Mia's face for guidance. "What do we do?" she asked softly, but Mia knew. She felt the weight of their decision pressing down on her shoulders, resonating with the painful memories of whispered complaints that had never been elevated. "Let us fight, Grace. Let us tell the world. Together." As Mia spoke those words, tears stung her eyes. The crowd erupted, not just in cheers but in a renewed sense of purpose. They began to chant again, louder this time, empowered by the promise of their stories being told. "Save our town. Save our voices." But as the thunder of voices echoed through the air, the realization dawned on Mia. This wasn't just about the factory anymore. This was about reclaiming their identity, stepping into their power, and transforming their fear into a relentless force for change. And yet, just when Mia thought they were on the cusp of something monumental, a sharp sound sliced through their exhilaration, a distant siren, its piercing wail cutting through the night, a haunting reminder of the looming threat still haunting them. Mia's heart dropped as she glanced at Nathan, realizing that this newfound hope could be challenged at any moment. What would happen if the sirens were headed for their gathering? Do we have enough time? She whispered, the panic rising again. Nathan looked at her, a steady resolve in his eyes. We will. But we need to act fast. Let us take this fight to the next level. Mia's breath quickened. Were they truly ready for the battle that lay ahead? And what other secrets lurked beneath the surface, just waiting to be uncovered? The siren blared again, louder this time, sending a ripple of unease through the crowd. Faces turned white, eyes darting toward the road where the sound grew more distinct. Fear crept in, threatening to undermine the unity they had just begun to build. Mia felt her heart racing. What if they come to break us up? She whispered, dread rising. We can't let that happen, Nathan urged, his voice low but firm. Talk to me while we have the time. What has the factory done to you? The crowd hesitated. One woman stepped forward, her brow creased with worry. My son has asthma. It got worse after the factory expanded. We've had to take him to the hospital more times than I can count. Mia felt the sharp sting of her own memories. The kids at school, gasping for breath during recess, the whispers about blackened skies and sickly trees. Did they all carry a piece of this burden? Another voice broke through the air. My sister lost her job after the factory closed for a month. They said it was for repairs, but we know better. The town was suffering already, and they didn't care. Nathan scribbled fervently, his eyes capturing every detail as if each word was a lifeline. This is it. This is your chance to be heard. Mia took a step closer, grounding herself with the sound of their shared experiences. And think about how these things connect. The pollution, the lost jobs, it's all part of the same fight, she encouraged. Every single story matters. Voices began to rise, stories spilling forth like rain. An older man spoke about losing friends to dirted air. A woman recounted the struggles of raising children in a place where the water tasted foul. With each revelation, Mia felt the crowd transform. Their fears shifted into something more potent. They were becoming a force, a band of voices united against an unseen enemy. And yet, the sirens grew louder, a reminder of the outside world pushing against their little bubble of empowerment. Stay focused. Nathan called, his voice rising above the roar. Don't lose the fire. Just then, the lights of vehicles flickered through the trees, shadows swallowing their gathering. The once hopeful chance twisted with nervous energy. Mia pushed through the growing anxiety, searching the crowd for Grace's face. She needed that familiar spark of determination. Grace! Mia shouted. Grace turned to her, her earlier hesitation replaced with a fiery resolve. We can't let them split us apart. We tell them we're not going anywhere. We fight for our story. And just like that, amidst the threatening chaos, the crowd erupted once more. A symphony of shouts of solidarity burst forth. Who are we? Unbroken. Mia breathed deeply, her heart swelling. They were clutching on to hope as tightly as they could. But as the vehicles pulled closer, fear tugged at the edges of their resolve. Nathan felt the tension. Mia, let us keep the momentum. I want to know, what are you willing to risk for your truth? Mia looked forward, straight into the night. She could see the headlights now, shining like spotlights on their ragged hope. Everything, she answered, the whisper threading through the night like a vow. But even as she spoke, doubt flickered behind her eyes. Would their bravery shatter under pressure? Would this fragile unity hold or break? Nathan met her gaze, a mix of understanding and urgency igniting the air between them. Then let us make this count. We're ready to be heard. The first police car rolled into view, the siren's wail fading but not forgotten. An officer stepped out, scanning the crowd, ready to intervene. Mia felt the adrenaline surge again. They had a moment, a chance for change or confrontation. Was this truly the moment they had all been preparing for? Would the truth of their stories ring true, or would the darkness swallow them whole? The officer stepped forward, the beam of his flashlight piercing through the darkness. Mia could see his expression, a mix of authority and uncertainty. He looked at them as if trying to gauge the weight of their resolve. Hearts thumped like a drum in the taut air, and whispers filled the crowd, trepidation clashing with defiance. "All right, folks," the officer boomed, his voice steady but infused with a semblance of sympathy. "You need to disperse. This isn't a lawful gathering." Mia's heart sank. The words were like ice water poured over their newfound hope. She felt a tremor rush through her. It was an instinctive fear, the kind that pushed her to retreat, to shrink beneath the weight of looming authority. But that vulnerability was swallowed by the steadiness of her friends around her. "We're not going anywhere," a man shouted from the back. The words hung in the air, defiant and fierce. The crowd echoed them, chanting louder with every heartbeat. "Who are we? Unbroken." Mia felt the heat rise within her. Their sense of togetherness charged the atmosphere, building a wall against the encroaching fear. She spotted new faces shining in the dim light, filled with the type of determination that sparks movements. These were individuals transformed by pain, but united by a burning wish for change. Nathan stepped forward, his notebook cradled in his arm like a shield. "This is our home. You can't silence us for wanting to speak our truth." His voice rang clear, unwavering. The officer shifted, taken aback by this sudden surge of courage. "Mia, keep the stories coming," Nathan urged, and she felt the push pull her forward. "A few months ago, my brother fell ill, and we found out it was because of the toxins," Mia exclaimed, her voice rising above the crowd. "We demand clean air. We deserve the chance to breathe." The vehicle's lights flickered, illuminating her face. She could see the eyes of the crowd, fascinated, angry, hopeful. It was in that moment she realized these voices were no longer just stories. They were powerful cries for justice, reaching out to the heavens while digging into the ground for strength. The officer hesitated, uncertainty flashing across his face. No one had expected this kind of bravery to erupt from despair, and in a heartbeat, he was being swayed by the force of their unity. "You all need to listen," he said slowly, glancing from one face to another, earnest eyes meeting his. "I understand your frustration. But we're only doing our jobs. And your job should be to protect us, not silence us." Grace shouted, her words igniting like fire. "Look at what the factory has done to us. We are not just numbers or complaints." A wave of murmured agreement rippled through the crowd. It was as if every single one of them was becoming a living embodiment of the struggle they had faced, eyes shining with passion and truth. Mia felt something inside her shift. There was no going back now. The police hadn't just arrived to threaten them, they were witnesses to the beginning of a transformation, a moment that could change everything. And then, in the midst of the raucous unity, everything went still. There, at the edge of the crowd, stood another figure, someone familiar. It was Mark, the factory's manager, stepping into the light. Mia's stomach tightened. Did he come with more threats, or was he here to finally acknowledge their suffering? She felt the tension coil tightly among her friends, a looming question suspended in the air. What would happen next? Would this moment define them, or send them spiraling back into silence? "Listen." Mark's tone cut through the atmosphere, demanding their attention. "We need to talk." What was about to unfold could change everything. Would it be the confrontation they had all feared, or an opportunity to bridge the divide? Mark's eyes scanned the crowd, taking in the faces filled with determination, anger, and a flicker of hope. His breath caught as he realized the gravity of the moment. These were not just angry townspeople, they were a community claiming their voice. The murmur of apprehension mixed with defiance flowed through the air like a palpable current, and he could feel the tension bearing down on him. "Please," he said, raising a hand to signal for calm. "I know you're all hurt and frustrated. We need to talk about this calmly." But calm was the last thing on anyone's mind. The crowd shifted, a sea of voices swelling. "Talk!" someone shouted. "You've been hiding behind your office for too long." Each word was a dagger, aimed at the heart of complacency. Mia noticed Grace's fists clench at her sides. Nathan's jaw tightened, and Mia felt the same surge of energy that had told her to speak out moments before. She could feel the momentum shift in the air again. "Mark," Mia called out, her voice steadying despite the chaos. "How can you possibly stand there and say we need to talk when our lives are still being destroyed? What kind of time frame do you think we've got?" Mark's expression faltered for just a moment, revealing a man who had always been a cog in the machine, never the driver. "I didn't mean it that way." I thought he drew in a breath, visibly steeling himself. "But I didn't know how deep the problems went. I thought it was just policy." A voice shot from the crowd. "Policies don't breathe." It echoed like a thunderclap, laced with anger. He took a step closer, gratitude mingling with fear. "I want to help. You have to let me in." "Help?" Nathan asked incredulously, stepping forward. "Is that what you call it? Closing us off? Endangering our families?" Mia's heart pounded. They could either draw lines in the sand or allow some kind of healing to begin. "There's a way forward," Mark continued, more resolute now. "I'll agree to a public meeting where you can voice your concerns. I'll bring in experts." "We can, and then what?" interjected Grace, her voice crackling with skepticism. "We play nice and hope for change that never comes." Mia could feel the surge of memories, the sleepless nights spent worrying about her brother, the moments of despair when they felt completely voiceless. "No," Mia said firmly, "this isn't just about talking anymore. It's about accountability. It's about action." The crowd murmured in a unified agreement. It was more than resolution, it was a breaking point, and they were standing on the edge of something bigger. Mark looked over the crowd, urgency reflecting in his eyes. "I promise you we'll work together for change. I can't undo what's been done, but I can be part of the solution going forward. If you give me that chance." The air hung heavy with a knowing silence. They could sense the shift. Their hearts beat in sync, thundering with potential. But then an unexpected voice cried out, a child, barely 10, breaking through the adult barriers of fear. "Why don't you care about us?" The question sliced through the tension, revealing raw vulnerability. The collective gaze turned toward Mark, whose expression softened at the sight. Mia felt a tremor within herself, a swelling of both anger and hope. Could this really be a turning point? Could they hold Mark accountable? "Action, Mark. We want action." The crowd chanted, their voices rising like a wave. As the fervor echoed through the night, Mia locked eyes with Mark, searching for sincerity. Could change truly emerge from conversations, or would it remain a hollow promise? "Let us meet again tomorrow at the community center," he called out, desperation flooding his voice. "Let us talk about the first steps." Mia felt the mixed emotions brewing within her. Was this a real opportunity, or just another ploy to quiet them down? With the crowd still buzzing around her, she took a deep breath. "Tomorrow," she said, barely above a whisper. But would it be the dawn of new beginnings or just another sunset on their hopes? She didn't know. But she knew they had to find out. The sun began to rise over Maplewood, painting the sky in hues of gold and pink. Mia stood outside the community center, heart racing, surrounded by familiar faces filled with uncertainty and hope. The events of the previous night still buzzed in the air, heavy with possibility. Today could change everything. As townspeople trickled in, Mia felt the weight of their collective anxieties pressing down on her. They were all there for one reason: they wanted a voice. As each face appeared in the doorway, she recognized the burden each person carried: the aching struggles, the whispered regrets, the desperate need for action. "Everyone's here," Grace said beside her, her eyes searching the crowd. "Do you think Mark will actually show up?" "He has to," Mia replied. "This isn't just about us anymore. It's about all of Maplewood." Their eyes met, and for the first time in a long time, Mia saw a flicker of determination in Grace's expression. A silent understanding passed between them. They were in this together. The room began to fill, the atmosphere crackled with a mix of trepidation and excitement. No one knew what would happen, but hope was alive, pulsing in their veins. Mia's heart fluttered with every new face, each representing a story begging to be told. Suddenly, the doors swung open, and Mark stepped inside, a mix of apprehension and resolve written across his face. Murmurs fluttered throughout the crowd, and the air thickened with the tension that came from a gathering of those seeking change. "Thank you for coming," Mark said, his voice steady but carrying the weight of 1,000 apologies. "I know many of you are angry and hurt. And you have every right to be." The room fell silent. Mia could feel the eyes of the community sharp upon him, some waiting to hear accountability, others ready to strike with barbed phrases still fresh on their tongues. "As I said, I cannot undo the past, but I'm here to listen. I want to hear your stories, the truth of what has happened in our town," Mark continued, and for the first time, Mia could sense sincerity in his tone. "Let us build a path forward, one based on transparency and action." With that, a ripple of whispers spread through the crowd. There was hesitation, but Mia felt that same flicker of hope igniting again. "Let us share our stories," a voice from the back called out, as another rose to meet it. "That's what we need. We need to be heard." Mia took a deep breath. This was at the moment the community had been waiting for. She stepped forward, feeling a crescendo of collective energy building around her. "I'll go first," she said, her voice trembling at first but growing steadier with each word. "I'm Mia, and my little brother has asthma. The factory's pollution worsened it. I've watched my parents worry endlessly about his health. We've had sleepless nights, countless trips to the hospital. It's unfair. We deserve to breathe." As her words flowed, a wave of emotion washed over the crowd. She glanced at Grace, who nodded encouragingly. "Every single story counts." She called out, taking her turn. "My family, like so many others, has worked in that factory for generations, dedicating their lives to support this town. And yet, we've seen it all crumble, with no acknowledgement for our sacrifices." This time, the chorus of voices swelled. One by one, they spoke of lost jobs, of sickness, of dreams deferred, laying bare the struggles etched in every heart. The more they shared, the stronger their collective spirit became. As voices rose, Mia noticed the warmth in their eyes changing to a fire, hope evolving into conviction. They were no longer individuals merely sharing burdens. They were becoming a movement, each story connected, woven together in a tapestry of resilience. And in the moment of unity, something unexpected happened. The police officer from last night stepped to the front, hat in hand. "I'm sorry," he said quietly. I didn't understand. My job is to protect, and I see now that means listening too. I'll help you." Gasps of surprise rippled through the audience, and Mia felt tears prick the corners of her eyes. Change was being born in the very place where they had feared silence had settled in forever. As the meeting continued, Mark acknowledged their stories, committing to action steps that had never seemed plausible before. The crowd, buoyed by the power of each word shared, began to envision a more sustainable future. Hope radiated within every heart, as plans grew for demanding cleaner air and improving safety standards. When it came time to wrap up, Mark looked around the room. "I can't promise that everything will change overnight, but I promise to be here with you." Standing side by side, Mia and Grace exchanged glances, hearts swelling with pride. They had transformed fear into action and despair into hope. They had stood at the edge of darkness and stepped into the light together. As people began to leave, Mia felt a hand on her shoulder. "You were amazing," Grace said, a radiant smile breaking across her face. "We were amazing," Mia responded, basking in the warmth of their shared victory. In that moment, she realized that though the battle ahead would still be difficult, they had taken the first step to reclaim their voices. Together. "Let us keep fighting," Mia declared, and as she looked into her father's eyes across the room, he nodded, an understanding passing between them. The path wasn't just about the factory, it was about healing their bond, mending what had been broken, and embracing the love hidden beneath layers of pain and silence. And so, as Maplewood began to reshape its future, a transformation unfurled not just in its people, but in its heart. This was the beginning of a new chapter, and together, they would write the story worth telling. Now was the moment to take action, to ensure this momentum never faded. As the crowd dispersed, Mia felt the spark of an idea ignite. She looked to her friends and family, the newfound community around her, and knew they were ready for whatever came next. "Let us take this fire to the people," she thought. "Let us tell them we're not done yet." As excitement buzzed in the air, Mia took a deep breath, feeling an overwhelming sense of purpose. Together, they would find strength in their unity and courage through their truths. Don't miss your chance to join this journey. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Comment your reactions and feelings about this powerful ending. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to subscribe now. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Only true fans understand the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.